Hi guys, quick recap from today's race. This was basically a climbing race, around 100 kilometers in length and more than 1500 meters of climbing, so it was quite hard. It was also a national level race, so quite a lot of local or national level pros showed up, and that made it really hard. Basically I got dropped in the first climb from the first group. I was doing around 300, 320, 350 watts for this first 20-minute climb, and I completely buried myself, and still it just wasn't enough. So I guess I need a bit more training to keep up with those guys, but I felt that in the later stages of the race I was much better than the others because I could pace myself better. So maybe that's because I have always ridden with the power meter, but these into the red efforts I'm quite weak in that, and definitely need a bit more work in that regard, because yeah, that's when I'm losing out. But in the end I was in the second group and I managed to beat all those guys in there with a good attack, so at least that is kind of a compensation for the rest of the race. The weather was pretty good. We had the downpour in said first climb, but the temperature was quite okay, so nothing unbearable. The roads were appalling, really just hideous, horrible surfaces and potholes everywhere, so definitely needed a lot of attention. And the speeds in the downhills were crazy as well. I'm not really a big fan of that, but yeah, that's racing. Luckily I think there was no crash at all, so everyone was trying to be safe, even though we went really fast. The wind also picked up at the later stages of the race, so that wasn't too pleasant, but still overall it was quite a good experience. It revealed basically one of my weaknesses, and now I know what I need to work on. Okay, so that was about my performance. I'm also going to talk you through my equipment choice now. Of course, you know my trust in Madonna, I think already, but I made some changes prior to this race in my setup, so let's just get into that. Normally I use my new S-Works shoes for racing, but today I use my Giros because they were a couple of useful grams lighter, so that's what I used. And also one of my regular Rafa skin suits over there to be at least a bit more aero, definitely help on the downhills. The Madone frame, of course, one issue I have with the Madone bar and stem, it wasn't so apparent with red levers until now because they grip the bar quite well, but this shiny surface continues all the way through the bar. They are not roughened up in the drops, and that's really inconvenient because if you look at it, my levers have slipped quite a bit from all the high-speed bumps I was getting into the bike when I was in the hood, so I will need to correct that. So that's a minus point for the Madone. Otherwise it performed flawlessly. Really good even on the climbs. The frame is really light despite being aero, and also the back end is super comfortable. You feel quite a bit of jarring from the front end, but if you want a proper race bike, aero bike, then that's a trade-off you have to make either way. Then with the wheels, I ran the 303s in tubular format today. The zips, they are really light, really responsive, although I feel that the 454 clinchers felt a bit nippier because I think they're a lot stiffer. So anyway, these were quite good for the hills, 1330 grams. The bike overall hit exactly the UCI weight limit at around 6.85 kilos, so I was good to go. I was extremely thankful for the 32 cassette because We tackled the climb twice and it was a really brutal one. I basically had to do 400 watts just to keep barely moving up it, but I still had pretty good cadence, so I'm happy with that. I also had to change back to my SRAM chain rings because the rotor rings proved extremely unreliable, and I dropped my chain multiple times in training after my race this week, so I just went back to be safe. I was really happy with the bottom gear, 36, 32. Was excellent. I could spin up every climb when everybody else was just grinding their knees out, so that was good. But on the descent I would have been real thankful for a larger big gear, but yeah, that's a compromise you have to make. The braking was quite good, even though it was raining in the first part of the race. Quick downpour, shifting, everything else was fine. Another problem with the Madone, well, not a real problem, but the drive side chainstay is quite high up. Of course I have no cog in there now, but anyway you get quite a lot of chain slap. But on these roads at these speeds you would have chain slap on any bike. Maybe not on a 1x setup, but then you couldn't really race this race in a 1x setup because you went from basically 10 km an hour to 80 km per hour, and no 1x setup is going to cover that anytime soon. I was also quite happy to be in the tubulars for the first time in a long while, because I hit a pothole at high speed on the rear, and it was a big hit, and I thought I would puncture immediately, and I probably would have on a clincher. So yeah, tubulars definitely still have a place on rough roads. And besides, the 303 survived probably the toughest wiggles that Zip or anyone else makes, so that was good. I also got an annoying creak from my speedplay pedal from my left side, and I think it's because this spray from Finish Line is basically useless. The more I spray it, the more it creaks, so now I just put some silicone spray on there. I know you shouldn't, but I am really careful with my cleats, and I'd rather have a bit more cleaning than a lot more creaking. So yeah, and I forgot to mention I got 19th overall, so first of the second group. Not so bad considering there were around 4 or 5 pro teams with team cars and everything, so yeah, it could be better, but I have to train a lot more to get onto that level so I can hang with the front runners on these climbs. But it was a good experience nevertheless. I also felt quite fresh by the end of the race, so that's, I think, a good sign. Good pacing. Obviously I didn't want to go too much into the red at the beginning, but yeah, there are many more races to come, a lot more to learn, a lot more to train, so there's always something to improve. Well, not much on the bike, but on my legs and my condition, for sure. Okay, so this was a quick recap of this weekend's racing. There's more to come. I will start to upload the Strava file in a couple of minutes, so you can check that out. And if you want to see more tech content related to bikes and other high-end cycling related stuff, then don't forget to tune into my channel and subscribe. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.